Let me talk a little more about this state management thing. So the problem this is solving is I want to be able to use this image. So if I flipped this thing horizontally, I want to be able to use this as the source image, and then flipping it again should lead to the same thing again. Actually, this function is broken, so let me fix the code here real quick so that the flip image should be deep copy of the image. So now it actually flips it. There we go. So there's the flipped image. So it had auto reload going, so it reloaded the page as soon as we did that. So I can click use this image, and now the flipped image is the source, and now the result here is the flipped it horizontally twice, so now it's just back to normal. So how did this work? How does this stored thing work? So first of all, let's look at again at the session state. So actually every single widget here, like this radio thing, is actually, it stores its current value in the session state already. So if this is upload or stored, that value, upload or stored, gets stored in st.sessionState. In fact, it gets stored in sessionState.source. Why? Because when I created this radio button, I actually said key equals source. So that says that we're going to use the source key of the session state to store whatever this radio button selection currently is. And what radio does is when it runs, it checks what source is currently set to and displays itself with that option selected and returns that as its return value. So that gets assigned to the local variable here called source. So this is transient, but the session state sticks. So as long as this page is open and I don't close the tab or whatever, these session state variables stick around. So we use that to store the image. So here we're using the radio buttons mechanism to store things. This is how Streamlit normally works. But we can use that same mechanism to store the image itself. So here's how that works. When the source is stored, then we get the image from the session state. So this is just a little defensive programming to make sure that there actually is an image in the session state, because I could have clicked this before actually storing something. And just make sure that it's there and it's not an empty image, just to make sure that everything's good. Then we're going to take this image and we will store it in the session state, or we'll grab the image that was stored in the session state before. So notice here we stored it when the setImage button was or setImage function was called, and then we retrieve it down here as the source image. So this means that any way we go through here, source image being any one of these things, we're going to get an image, but does it come from the camera input? Does it come from the file uploader? Or does it come from this session state stored image? So when it is coming from the stored image, we'll do this little thing to display what that image is. So we can st.image that. So let's just test if we understood this. So how does clear work? What should we do for clear? So clear should set the image to none. So see no image stored. So how does it do that? It calls setImage, and it gives it a keyword argument, source equals none. So when we call it, or when that function gets run, that source variable, the source parameter, will get set to none. So this assignment here will assign none to the image in the session state. So that's how it works there. Down here, when we said the use this image function, that also calls setImage, but it sets it to the processed image. So when I've flipped it horizontally, then that processed image goes over here to the stored image, and then this code up here runs and grabs out that stored image.